Hi, this is Roger. Welcome to Roger's Garden and Bonsai. This is the bonsai part of that. This is a relatively quick bonsai video. A talk about what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and why I'm doing it at this time of year instead of the beginning to the middle of June when it should have been done. But we'll have a look and we'll have a chat. This is a relatively new tree for me. It was produced from an air layer. I had 3 trees together. I took an air layer off of one which took nicely, which is what we've got here. The rest I actually sold at the Bonsai Society. I've got a reasonable price for. So we'll swing the camera. No, we won't swing the camera around or you won't see what I'm doing. What we'll do is we'll get it into a position where you can sort of see what I'm up to. What you can't see is that. These extensions have now become silly. They're over 1 metre long, which is why this is the wrong time of year to be doing this. It should have been done probably the beginning of June. But it will serve a purpose, because letting branches run riot like this helps thicken the trunk. It has an effect on the tree, and as this is an air layer, it's a relatively young tree, that's a good thing. But what we have got to do is have a think about what we've got here. I mean, this extension here is part of a small branch that is going to become part of the tree. It's on the first outside bend. Now okay, it's very near the base of the tree, but if I take it off, the next branch is up here. Now that might be how it ends up, but it's not going to be how it is now. So we're going to keep it for now. So we've got a couple of little stumps on the trunk, which I don't want to keep. So we'll get rid of those now. Oops. You would go on the floor, wouldn't you? And then we come to this first extension. Now, Trident Maples branch very easily. Back here there is a dormant proper bud that will grow immediately. On this little branch there's a stumpy bit with 2 little shoots that may push on. That bit won't, so that can come off. So we've got this branch here. Now if this is going to be the first branch, and strangely enough now I look at it, it's already been cut once. It was cut there, and this is the side shoot. So we'll go back to there and see if it'll do it again. You should never cut tight up to the buds with maples, because there's often a bit of dieback from the cut, especially in winter, and it can take the buds out. So don't go too close. Right, so that's that. And then we come on up the trunk. We've got another stumpy bit here, which we don't want. And then we've got this massive extension here. Now unfortunately, if that's going to become a branch on the tree, it's got a very long bare bit before there is anything. So if I'm going to get anything to grow on here, which may not happen, this branch might have to go if it doesn't work. But what we'll do is we'll take it back to its first set of branches, which are proper branches. They're actually growing. So we'll take that back to there, and I want to put that in my rubbish bag, so I'm going to cut it up. Otherwise it won't fit. There we go, now it will fit. Right, so that's that one. That's not at the right angle. I'm not sure that branch will be kept. And then we come to a pair of branches and a stumpy bit. And a stumpy bit on the other side that does have leaves. And one round the back. So basically we now have a cluster of branches forming a ring round the trunk. They can't all stay. So we could be thinking about what can stay. I suppose we ought to be thinking also about which is the front of the tree. Where's the camera? There. So that's not a bad front. It's not a bad front. It shows the trunk spreading into the pot at the base. But then that's not a bad front either. But it would have that scar. That will eventually grow over. You can see it's rolling over the wound already. So that would eventually go. As I say, this branch is dubious as to what we're going to do with that. We might end up having to sacrifice this branch and start our branches up where the first bend on the main trunk is, and then let this grow into a thick trunk with branches spreading out from. That's not a long trunk, that's only 6 inches, yeah? So to have a branch so close to the base of the trunk is probably a bit silly. I mean, obviously that, you know, the trunk will progress. I think I am actually going to take that off and put the strength somewhere else. So we'll take that off. As I said, this has not actually been styled yet. Wrong tool, Roger. You've got the proper one, use it. This is a knob cutter, and it's got convex, concave blades, so it digs in, basically, it digs in. And having made a wound like this, I shall have to get my cut paste and seal it. Maples are very prone to leaking sap, which makes the wound damp, which means it's prone to bacterial infections and stuff like that. So we just make sure we've got nice clean edges to it. And that will roll over and heal up quite nicely, like the one around the other side did. That had the same treatment. So that'll do for that. Which now means our first branch is this one with nothing growing on it, which I believe should also go. So that one's going to go as well. And again, we'll just dig into that a little bit so that it will heal better. Get some cut paste on it as well, because it's quite a large wound. There we go, that's that one done. Right, now we come to a whole set of branches. Now we've got our trunk coming up here and then heading off there. So we want a good branch on the outside of that bend, and that is obviously that one, not that one. So we will get that one off. So we've decided what's happening on the right side of the tree. This being a reasonable branch. And it's funny, sometimes on Trident Maples you look at the shape of it and you think, well, this branch is quite long. No, it's not. It's just got 2 large leaves. Take those large leaves off, then you can see the true length of the branch. There. And again here, some large leaves. We take some of them off. The branch will look more like a, you know, a bonsai branch rather than something that's extending a ridiculous amount. So that's our first main branch now. We've got a stumpy bit sticking out the trunk there. Have that gone. We have where a branch, an extension was cut before that hasn't healed very well. So if I give that a trim. And take that down a bit, as that is our first main branch. That should heal better this time. Get down into some new wood. Should heal up a little bit better this time round. There we go again, some cut paste in a minute. And then the main trunk chop was done here. I'm going to leave that as is. So we've now got our first branch on an outside bend. Happy with that. But we've now got to look at the rest of the branches. This one is opposite this one, so that's a no-no. We do have one a little bit higher, luckily. So we can chop that one off. Like so. clean that one. Right, so we've got our first outside branch. We also have a back branch at the same point. We've also got a horrible stumpy bit there that, again, if we take that off and start its healing process again with some cut base, that will look better. A few gnarly bits on the trunk give it character, you know. If it's dead smooth all the way up, it looks, you know, looks like a giant seedling. Right, so if this is our first main branch, this is our secondary branch. We do have a back branch. Is that desirable at that point? It's not a very good branch, it's very gnarly. I think we don't need it, so we'll take that one off. This is going to leave a big stump, because that branch effectively was on a knot. So again, this tree's got a bit of work to do in the old healing process. Got quite a few scars to get past, but if you don't choose your branches relatively early on, sometimes your choices are taken away, because you can almost guarantee that the branch you're not sure about will be the one that grows best, and then later you decide you don't want it and you've wasted the energy of the tree into that part. Right, so this is now our secondary branch, and this possibly do with a bit of wire, just like that, to hold that, group it together. But I'm going to try and push it back by trimming the ends. So I'm going to take the ends off back to the first buds and get it to shoot out. Hopefully. We do have a bit sticking up in the air there, we don't want that. Dead bit here, which we definitely don't want. I can't take these bits back. I can take that one back to the little side shoots, but this one hasn't got any, so I'm going to have to leave that. And then we've got the bit that we can't see very well because it's tucked over there. I can take that back to there where it's got side shoots, and hopefully it will now shoot back. Yeah? Because all the energy that it was using to push these has now been stopped. Well, it's still being produced down here. This is still pumping up like that. That's now got to find somewhere new to go. Hopefully it will push the tree like mad. And we'll get a load of back budding all over the place. They are prone to do that. It's not like I'm trying to do something the tree doesn't naturally do. I mean, the chances are, if I cut this off here, we'd get loads of new shoots down the trunk. They are that good at back budding. Right, so we got as far as our first branch, our second branch, and then we have another branch here that's sticking almost bolt upright. What are we going to do with that? I think I'm going to leave it for now, because although it starts off sticking upright, it can always be, you know, it sort of lends itself to going down here. We've got a huge extension on this one as well, so we need to take it back anyway, back to where there's some buds. So we take that off. We'll call it a sacrifice branch because that's what it looks like. That wasn't planned. That wasn't the general idea. It's got a sticking up bit. That's alright, those tools are a bit big for getting into these finer places, so that scissors out. Now, what else have we got then? We've then got to here. We have a trunk that splits in two. Now obviously one of them needs to become the main trunk. If I want to get movement in this, we've decided that that's the front. So we're coming up here. We could choose that as the new leader, and could we turn that into a branch? You have to go careful bending maples, they will snap very easily. And this branch has got nothing at the base of it again. So what do? This has two side branches opposite each other, we can choose one. This branch I want, I'll keep that as a short branch, that's a front branch effectively. I want to keep that, but I want it to shoot back, it's no good as it is sticking out there. So we've got to decide on where our trunk goes. Now we come up here, over here, carrying on up here means we've got a very long straight bit, so that's a no-no. Therefore, this has to be the main trunk. Trying to turn that into a branch is probably not going to work, and it will probably work better for the tree if it's gone, so we'll get rid of that. There's a lot of the tree gone, but it'll make a lot of difference. As I said, at this time of year, although it's a bit late to do this job, should have been done a month ago, there is still plenty of time prior to this tree deciding it's autumn to do work. There's plenty of time for this tree to push out side shoots, back buds and the like. And I'll keep it a little bit sheltered during the winter because obviously those new shoots will be relatively delicate through this winter. They'd have done better if they had an extra month to harden off, you know, and progress. Right, so what have we done then? We've gone up there, over there, we're now coming back here. So we now need to change direction again over to that direction. So I want that, but I don't want the one the other side. Handlebars, so we'll get rid of that straight away. And the obvious direction of the trunk is this bit, because what's happened here is this has died. It's been cut, and the two shoots either side have both grown with equal strength, so they have created handlebars. So obviously only one can stay, and the best one is the one that changes the direction of the trunk without coming out this way. This is branch direction, this is trunk direction, and as they are handlebars, this one's got to come off. But if this is going to become a trunk, it can stay. We just need to get the bulk of it out of the way. So we'll take it off there, which gets rid of the big extension. I'll explain the logic. So what we've got now is what looks like handlebars, but remember this is going to be the trunk. So this is going to get thicker, driven by more energy coming back down from the branches above as the tree extends. This won't get that energy. So after time it won't look like handlebars, and we do get a side branch. So it's starting to look a bit more like a bonsai now. Do we leave this extension on? We could do. Just leave it. We've changed the direction of the trunk yet again. Yeah, we've come over here, we've come over here, then we've come over here, then we've gone over there. Do we want to come back in this direction? Not sure I do. I think I want to get a bit more of the tree over that way. So I'm going to take that right off and let the shoot opposite extend. It's good when you do all this planning and the really important shoot or branch that you leave to do the really important work ends up dying, as happened to me a couple of times. So we will take that off. So I'm only cutting this up so it will fit in my rubbish bag. If you were that way inclined, you can take cuttings off of maples. These sort of shoots would make brilliant cuttings. Yeah, you cut below a node like that, and just above a pair of leaves, and take most of the leaves off because you won't be able to support them. Put it in some rooting hormone and stick it in a pot, and the chances are it will grow. But you know, I don't know how long I'm going to live. How long is it going to take that to become a bonsai of any worth? Not probably while I'm still around. Don't Don't forget, I did say this was an air layer, but it was the top of a tree. It was the whole top of a tree, so it already had some thickness to it. So we're getting the makings of a little bonsai tree now, which we certainly didn't have when I brought it in. And I've made some decisions on which directions I want the tree to take. I've just got a bit I want to take off there. There. Right, so I will get some cut paste, put those wounds back, make them nice and tidy and healthy. Why on earth I left that sticking up? It won't heal very well, nor will that, come to think of it. I'm a bit lazy there. So there we go, that's my idea of what will become a bonsai. As I say, I think this branch needs to come round here, which is a wire job. I hate putting wire on deciduous trees. It bites in so easily. But the time to wire that is when the leaves drop. You know, as it goes into autumn, all of the energy of the tree, thank you. These are sharp. I've got a feeling that is going to bleed. It's certainly a pinch. Concentrate, boy. Well, if it does bleed, I shall have to get plaster on it, I suppose. The trouble is I'm on blood thinners, so when I make a hole, it tends to leak for quite a long time. But luckily that hasn't quite gone through. Otherwise I end up having to keep it clean for ages. Right, so as I say, this branch here I think is going to need a bit of wire to pull it round here a bit and make the pieces closer, and hopefully we will get some side shoots and it will thicken up. And that wire, as I said, needs to go on in the autumn, and then it can stay there until the flush of growth in the spring is starting to harden, and at that point this branch will start to swell, and that's when your wire will bite in. But by then it will have had 4, maybe 5 months, 4, and hopefully it will be set by then. And obviously next time this gets repotted, it will get realigned with the, you know, that's not now the current view. Although it does actually work. It does actually work. Still, I won't make that decision till I next repot it. That does actually work, and that puts that branch in a better position. So I'm trying to aim it at the camera so that you're seeing what I'm talking about. That does actually work, you know. We've got our thick base, which doesn't work that way. It's not as wide there. It's at its widest there. Okay, the trunk's heading back and then comes forward, but then it does start to go back again. I will reconsider that next time I repot it, but as it stands, that's all it's getting done today. So that is my smallest maple. I have 2 ordinary Acer palmatum hybrids, no name or anything like that, that are about this big, that also have extensions 1/2 metre plus long that needs doing. And I have my Dishojo maple, which is like this wide and that tall, that also has huge extensions on it. And all 3, and I also have my hornbeam, which is that's a really nice sturdy plant, that also has huge extensions on it. They've all got to come in here and have a trim, because I don't like working outside. So there could be some more bonsai videos coming up. They'll all be like this one, and in the main, the others, apart from the hornbeam that does need some thought, because I wanted to raise the plant a bit taller than it is now and extend the trunk. Well, that I may have an extension that now works, because it kept putting out top growth horizontally. It would not go up. Been doing that for about 4 or 5 years. It's beginning to get annoying. But we may have something that could be deemed a trunk extension, so we may have a bit of thought. But the other 3, the 2 Acer palmatum hybrids and the Dishojo, they don't need any thought. They have their basic structure which I am happy with. All they need is a tidy up. So they'll probably be quite quick, even though there's an awful lot to chop off. All three of them now look like a bush. They've lost their bonsai. It's hidden in there, it's still in there, it's not gone, but it doesn't actually show at the moment, so we want to get it back. Whereas this one wasn't a bonsai, and it looks a bit more like one now. I'm quite pleased with that, you know. I am inclined to see. We were looking at that, but then this is not right. This branch, which is a secondary branch, the second branch up, is pointing too far back. This one's okay, but if we bring it round to there, both of these are okay. And then this becomes our back branch. This gives us some front depth. And then we've got our next side branch. And then we've got our split trunk, one of which will be allowed to go mad and get thicken up and become the trunk, the leader. And one will become a side branch. So, it's easy to change your mind, especially before you've finalised your design. So there we go. Anyway, I'm waffling. I do that. Oh, you noticed. And I will see you in the next one. As I say, I'm going to the Bonsai Fair on Sunday. It's an annual event. I go every year. The only reason I wouldn't go is that it's chucking it down with rain and the forecast says it's going to do it all day long, in which case I wouldn't bother going. But there is a potential shower, but that's not going to stop me, so I shall be off to that. But don't expect me to come back with any new bonsai. I have what I want. I'm happy looking after the ones I've got. It's going to take something pretty special to catch my eye, and it would have to be with a trader, because I'm not taking a load of cash with me, and the private sellers don't have card machines, obviously. So it would have to be a trader. And those prices tend to be quite a bit higher. So there we go, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.